Hello, Internet, and welcome to another TADPOG podcast, a weekly show where 2 to 3 old guys talk about games.
I'm not that old.
I'm your bearded host, Tyler, and if anybody remembers that cartoon U.S. Acres that you would watch waiting for the Garfield cartoon,
right.
Wade Duck was probably my favorite character on U.S. Acres.
Mine too. I'm Dave, your bespectacled host, and one time after seeing Tim Burton's Batman, I threw rocks at a hornet's nest pretending to be Batman and was stung over 28 times.
I didn't know that.
So there you go. It's a little gem for everybody.
That goes in my Dave diary.
What we do on this show is play our way through IGN's top 100 Super Nintendo games and muse about our experiences here on this show. Normally, it's just me and Tyler, but today we've got someone very special with us.
Hello.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, I am the dirtiest. I'm David Dycus, part-time internet music sensation. If anyone on here is a fan of the webcomic Homestuck, I've been on a few of the official releases there, and we got some other tracks floating around on the internet that you can listen to for free.
David Dycus is a long-time friend of mine. We met when I was 7, 8, and you were younger than that.
I was probably, like
we
5.
were friends and neighbors when we were very little, and then I didn't see him again for about 15 years. Now here he is again.
They reunited us.
Back then we used to play a lot of Cool Spot for the SNES.
Was that your game of choice?
I have no memory of this.
I tell him this, he doesn't remember it. He was the one that told me all about Jurassic Park before it came out. And we used to eat a lot of Arby's horsey sauce together. Which
I guess the look on your face.
All right, the horsey sauce is an allegation that has plagued me for many years now. I have no memory of having any sort of fondness for horsey sauce. But
when I was little,
Tyler adamantly maintains that this was my drug of choice as a child.
I would bring over packets of horsey sauce that I would keep whenever my parents would take me to Arby's, and we'd come over and Dycus and I would just eat horsey sauce straight out of the packets.
Listeners, take this with a grain of salt, with a grain of horsey sauce.
Did you guys ever play The Adventures of Batman and Robin together?
I've never seen this game prior to coming gaming with you guys.
In case you were wondering, faithful listeners, that's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about The Adventures of Batman and Robin for the Super Nintendo. I'm actually really excited because in regular comic book fashion, I would call this a crossover issue.
This is true. This is factual.
There's a great podcast out there called Second Breakfast. Tyler, you've actually got a relationship with one of the hosts of that show, right?
Yeah, one of the hosts, Phil, he went to school with my wife whenever she was in grad school. That's how I know Phil. Phil was the only guy I could turn to in seminary that knew shit about TV.
Yeah.
We would watch Lost together and talk theories. He knew I'm not a big movie guy, but I'm a big TV guy. He was the only other person that was on par.
Yeah, you are a big television guy. And I've heard them talk about television shows on Second Breakfast, but their knowledge about movies and cinema and film is astounding.
Phil's movie collection, whenever we would go over there, he's the only person in seminary who had a bigger TV than I did.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoy their show, and I know that you do too. We're talking about The Adventures of Batman and Robin, the Super Nintendo game. What are they doing?
Whenever I thought we were doing this, I was like, oh, Second Breakfast, I'll talk to Phil. He's on board, but a little pissed that in order to do this crossover, he's going to have to watch the Batman and Robin movie, which is terrible. Terrible. Although
Charles Barkley terrible?
Dycus liked it, though. Dycus was a big fan of Bane.
Horsey. I know two things about Dycus. Loves packets of horsey sauce and loves the Batman and Robin movie.
The Batman and Robin movie holds up, but not like it is the feel-good hit of 1997. You will laugh yourself to tears watching it. I recommend it to everyone.
He can't be too pissed at us because all our listeners are going to hear about his show and flock over to their podcast and then forget about us. Don't do that. Don't do that, listeners. They've actually got a relevant episode, and one of my favorites is they talk about Wreck-It Ralph.
So that's also a good crossover. If we had gotten the ball rolling earlier, then we probably would have done this before Batman and Robin had a much better crossover than...
So when you're done listening to this show, please check out Second Breakfast, at least our crossover episode with them and Wreck-It Ralph. I really enjoyed them. I think you will too.
I guess before we get to the nitty-gritty of all that is Batman, the Batman and Robin, what have you been playing this week outside of all things Batman?
I've been keeping this a secret. I think you're going to be pretty surprised.
Oh, I have a secret too, Dave.
I've been playing Professor Layton.
Yeah.
The last
Semi right now.
You got a chub?
Me, two other guys in a wood panel room, and I've got a raging semi.
Second breakfast listeners, cover your ears. Because I know Phil and Andy keep it really clean. We don't.
Nope.
So
Just talk about boners, bro. Just talk about boners.
That's all.
That's in the Bible somewhere, I'm sure.
That's what I've been playing. That's been pretty much it. The whole time I've been playing, I have felt incredibly stupid, especially because your comment on the last episode where you're like, this game makes me feel really smart. Meanwhile,
Progressively. The first one's the most challenging. Then I feel smarter as I go progress down the games.
there are some puzzles in there. Like I found some of the hidden puzzles that are incredibly difficult.
In later games, you get more hint coins and more super hints and things
See,
like that make it easier.
That's another problem that I've got. I have all these hint coins and I don't want to use them because I feel like using a hint coin is a real bitch move and I don't want to do it.
In the first one, can you only use one or can you use more than one?
In the first one.
In the first game.
Is The Last Spectre the first game?
Last Spectre is the fourth game.
Okay, that's the one I'm playing.
Okay.
Because you talked about it, made it sound real good,
Okay.
and I checked it out. I enjoy it, but some of the puzzles are frustrating.
Actually, that's a decent one to play because it's a prequel, so you'd have no problem playing the fourth one first.
I was telling you the other night when you were over playing Batman and Robin, that's what caused me to rage in the kitchen.
Oh.
There was this puzzle. It's a 6-sided die laid out flat, and you're supposed to connect these roads. I had promised myself 2 things. I wasn't going to make a mock-up of the die in order to do it, and I wasn't going to use a hint coin. Well, before I broke those 2 rules, I raged in the kitchen for 30 minutes, kicking around an empty Coca-Cola box and screaming. So
Yeah.
once I got that out of my system, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make a mock-up, and I'm also going to use every hint coin.
That's
what I
fair.
did.
That's fair.
Have you played it, Dycus?
No, I haven't.
All right. What have you played this week particularly?
I picked up the new Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS. I'm a little ways into it. I've never played a Fire Emblem game before, so there's been a bit of an acclimation period where I get used to the gameplay, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's a very good-looking game with the 3DS. I'm impressed in the 2 or 3 hours I've gotten into it.
How do you feel about the 3DS in general? I haven't even touched one yet.
I like my 3DS. I've mainly been using it for older games, Game Boy games. I've only picked up a handful of full cartridges for it. Not as robust a lineup as the original DS yet,
That's why I haven't bought one yet.
but I mean, I'm optimistic. It looks like it's got a lot of good stuff coming out in the future, so I don't regret buying it. I like the games that I've gotten for it so far.
So I like that you could get 6 golden coins.
Which
I'd be
which I
interested
have.
in playing 6 golden coins
I had
again.
never played 6 golden coins prior
Nor
to
have
getting my 3DS, and that was like the first thing I downloaded. It was like, because I had coveted that game for all my childhood. Never played it. It was like, finally. It's okay.
What about you, Tyler?
My mystery
Is this your secret?
that I've been sitting on
All right.
is that at long last, after 2 years, I have finished all handheld Zeldas.
Oh,
I slogged my way through Spirit Tracks, finally.
how long did it take you?
Like beating the game as a whole.
Yeah.
I bet I've spent the last 8 months playing it whenever I could just summon up the courage to wade back into the
Now I'm going to remember this.
mediocrity up to my nose.
The next time we have a discussion about an MMO. You're like, too much time. I want to say remember Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. The bosses were fun. The bosses were the best part of the game. Everything else about it, the same pattern of go to the tower, unlock a map, find the dungeon, do 2 things to unlock the dungeon, do the dungeon, go back to the tower, rinse and repeat for
Right.
8 levels. It got to where I hated it.
It sounds like it's the parts of the games that I just hate.
Yeah.
Magnified.
Yeah, I do not recommend Spirit Tracks unless you are a fanboy. I would be eager to try the awful CDI Zeldas before I have to sit down and slog through Spirit Tracks again.
Can we ever hope that maybe you guys will, I don't know, delve into those?
You're going to come in for that one?
No. Absolutely not.
After we do the top,
You've heard it here. Dycus is committed to coming on.
after we do the top 100 SNES games, we'll do the top 6 Philips CDI games.
Is there a worst of the Super Nintendo, like worst 90s games list anywhere? Because I feel like that might,
Oh, there's
that
got
might
to
have
be.
offer some potential for.
There are a few SNES games that I know aren't on the list that I want to do that aren't particularly good.
Let's just add it to our ongoing joke about
Yep.
special episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna do those.
Wink. Get ready for it.
Before we keep talking too much longer, I feel like we should probably talk about our sponsor,
Yeah.
our
They're back
returning
on.
sponsor.
They're back on. We're so happy to have them back.
I'm currently surrounded by Mondo. That's not a joke. I have no fewer than 4 bottles within arm's reach.
How's that make you feel?
This is the greatest night of my life, guys.
Pinnacle of human achievement.
I gave David Dycus a Mondo on Super Bowl night, and it was just like the scene out of Requiem for a Dream, where it's just his pupils got large. There was the noise, and that was it. He was done.
I'm really glad that you pulled a movie reference out. That's pretty.
There you go, Phil. Requiem for a Dream.
That's few and far between. I
Second
love
breakfast. But this week, our flavor is Legendary Berry.
Legendary Berry.
The last time was Primo Punch. We only have one left, so I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, there's that. I'm gonna try this.
Community Berry.
I used to work in a wine shop. Smell it, swirl it around, get the bouquet,
Right.
squeeze a little bit, look at its legs. When you take the wine, also
Right.
take the air in, aerate it, get the mouth feel.
Oh, we didn't decant it.
It's very strong corn syrup and blue.
Hints of blue.
Hints of blue. Here, I'll slide this across to you.
That's
You wanna
the
try?
sequel to Shades of Grey. 50 Hints of Blue.
50 Hints of Blue.
Thank you. That's
That's fan fiction by Megs246.
that's the union side of it.
And Dave looks exceedingly pleased right now by Legendary Berry.
I normally don't like
Dycus Legendary
Blue
Berry,
beverages.
or you don't want to drink after us.
I've already
He's already
Legendary Berry. So I think I'm in good shape for a while.
If anybody's a fan of WWE, David Dycus is a ripped individual. He drinks Mondo like Stone Cold Steve Austin drinks beer. Slamming them together, slinging them around, chugging them. He brings out the Mondo truck to coat the Mondo CEO.
I have no
Mondo CEO.
The evil Mondo CEO. Trying to
don't-
control TADPOG.
Tyler, don't piss our sponsor off. You're gonna ruin a good thing.
That's true. We have to bow. Thank you, Mondo CEO.
Really loving the mythos of Tadpog in this episode, I feel like. I hope he becomes a recurring character.
Yuki's mama and the Mondo CEO.
Yuki's mama
Mr.
in
Mondo.
cahoots with the Mondo CEO.
All right, I guess we should get down to Batman.
To Batman. Yeah. The Adventures of Batman and Robin. I usually give a little rundown. You guys want that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thought that's what those begging eyes were just.
Tell me about the Batman.
Please. All right. The Adventures of Batman and Robin is another Konami game. We talked about Tiny Toons a couple episodes back. I think it was episode 3. This is another Konami Warner Brothers team up. Konami developed and published this game in 1994. I think that was just a little over a year after the Batman animated series came out. In this game, surprise, surprise, you play as Batman, and it's a action-adventure platformer that's punctuated with flavors from different genres, such as overhead racing. Yeah, I was waiting.
Yeah,
I threw that in there.
I was
just
not
for you.
pleased when I got to that level.
But we'll get to all that good stuff. Tyler, how many beers did you give this game?
You want to do this now? Wait, we do this now and then lead you down.
No. I just wanted to see your reaction.
It's like, what?
I'm hoping you tie it back
That's not
to...
what the Mondo CEO wants.
Oh, that's right. Gotta stick to the Mondo agenda.
It was a fun game. I enjoyed playing it. It's the first one that we've sat down together and finished all the
Yeah.
way through.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
Speak for yourself.
Dak has played through the first half of it with us.
Yeah.
I bailed. I didn't have the stamina to make it through Batman.
2 nights of playing, we finished about 1:30 in the morning, got through it.
Yeah.
Fun game, but I feel like it fits the mold of all the games I feel we've played and talked about so far. I would have been pissed had I bought any of them. These are all, despite their quality, they're all rental games. This one, no exception. This would have been a solid weekend rental.
Really?
Yes.
I was kind of kidding about the beards and glasses part. You kind of just gave the review up right there.
I'm leading them into it. I'll tell I've shit on a lot of the games we've played so far.
Yes, you have.
And for me to say this one, this is okay. There's a lot for me to build up on to
Pretty
that
large
okay.
leap. I wouldn't have been pissed.
Like the yodeler on
Price is Right.
Price is Right, just climbing that mountain to okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been pissed to own this game. I kind of want to play it again. When we started playing it, I remember saying, I'm beating this game.
Yeah, about 2 minutes into it.
There's no doubt in my mind this game is going to be finished. After some time has passed, I would play this on hard. Because we played on normal. And it was pretty difficult. I'd play it on hard, though.
It was, and I feel like the difficulty got higher the further you went. They kind of tempered the difficulty by bringing down your lives.
Yeah, and
Like we would
continues.
start, with one life, one continue,
Yeah.
and then, time to restart the game.
Right. You know, we mentioned Tiny Toons earlier. Let me ask you this. If you had to choose between Tiny Toons and Batman and Robin, which game would you rather play?
Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin. Tiny Toons is definitely cutesier. I'd have to say Batman and Robin is a better game and one that I would sit down and play.
Yeah. What did you think of the difficulty, Dycus?
Ugh. Like I mentioned earlier, I did not make it past like the first half of this. I just got frustrated. I was tired and just couldn't do it anymore. I felt like this was one of those games where, like, in order to make you feel like you got your money's worth out of it, your $60 or whatever, they just made it so brutally difficult that it took you 30 hours to finally beat it, which is padding out the game with needless difficulty. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I'm just not very good at this game.
It was pattern learning.
One of my points that I really like about this game is that I felt like there were times when I was playing it that I kind of forgot it was an old game. I got into it. I guess there's so many indie darling games out that I love that are done in
That's a good point.
a retro style and retro music that as I was playing it, there were points where I completely forgot that this was a game that came out in 1994. And I consider that a good thing about the game, but there were some things that brought me back out of that. And the pattern recognition for the bosses is one of those because it's completely 1990s style where in order to beat a boss, you have to fight that boss probably about 18 times, learn its pattern, and then
Own them.
And then exactly.
This is completely done in animated series style. Bosses, the art style, it's animated series, so
Yeah.
it holds up. It holds up really well. Konami did a good job making it look like that and making it flow.
Yeah, as they did with Tiny Toons. All the sprites are animated like they would be in the original cartoon show, and the backgrounds all have attention to detail. I know when we were playing, Meg was over here, and she even commented on in the penguin stage in the museum, there's this nice reflective floor that you can just tell that time was taken. And
And
putting
they
this
didn't
game
even
together.
have to at
Yeah.
that point. But she, on the way, when we were driving home after it was done, I talked to her about the rental thing, about how I'd been mad if I would have bought it. She's like, that game was worth like $40. I was like, that's not how much Super Nintendo games cost back then.
That's true.
She's like, what? No. Yeah, like I remember I paid like $80 for Super Mario RPG the week it came out for Super Nintendo.
Wow.
It was incredibly expensive at Toys R Us.
They ran, I think on average, they were about the cost of games, new retail games today, like around the $60 mark. And we've seen some old Toys R Us circulars where they've
I
got,
love on Reddit when they post like Toys R Us ads from the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And they still have like Sega Dreamcast and the Super Nintendo, $149.
yep.
Earthbound, $40. Chrono Trigger, $40. Toward the end of its lifespan.
I assume that everyone here at this table watched Batman the Animated Series.
Very much. I've seen I'd say nearly every episode of the animated series.
Dycus?
I'm not as well versed in Batman the Animated Series as most people like my age or older. It was kind of off my radar as a kid, which I regret now because I feel like I kind of missed out. So a lot of the nostalgia with this game was kind of lost on me.
Well, you're in luck because this game rekindled some of my love for that show. And I do love that show. It's a great show. They've got on WB's website, I think they've got the first season you can stream.
Really?
Similar to Tiny Toons, because in Tiny Toons, Konami took a whole bunch of Tiny Toons episodes and made them stages. The Adventures of Batman and Robin is really similar. They don't take shows verbatim, but a lot of elements of those shows are in each stage.
Because, the Joker, the first stage was the Joker in
Right.
the amusement park that was, it was the first episode of the animated series?
It was, I think, the second or third, because the first was Man Bat on Leather Wings.
Okay.
That was the pilot, and then I think it was the second or third.
To remember it being an early
Yeah.
early one. There's not a lot of enemy variety throughout
is
all the
true.
levels. Wherever the goons go to get hired, they must have been like some kind of a money saving procedure.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we got 2 uniforms. Can you provide your own gun? Yes. All right, you get the brown uniform.
All right.
I don't have a gun,
Pistol
sir.
or Tommy gun?
Green. Same. They're both brown. Like, you got a gun, period. You get a brown outfit.
Yeah.
Just fish, you poor guy, green outfit. All right. Put your Mad Men hat on, get out there.
That's true. That's true. They definitely didn't pull these guys from Metro City. That's for sure. They were on a lower. These thugs were on a lower pay grade.
The Mad Gear gang has not made it to Gotham
This
yet.
is the Mad Men gang.
Mad Men. Nice. Perhaps I feel this way about the animated series, period. Maybe not the movies. In the animated series, I feel like Batman is the least appealing character. I feel like Batman is kind of vanilla, and he's just sort of a device to convey the brilliance of the enemies.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like all of Batman's enemies are much better than Batman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the show is definitely colored by Batman's Rogue Gallery.
Yes, he's a little sad because his parents are dead, but overall, that Bruce Wayne is very reserved. There's not a playboy element really about him that much in the animated series at all.
No, and they really, honestly, don't even touch much on his parents' death. I think the show ran for 3 seasons. I could be mistaken, but I think his parents' death is only brought up once.
Like one episode. Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a great thing, because I know every time you see a Batman movie or every time they do a reboot, they go through the origin, which I guess you quote-unquote have to. I think at this point, everyone knows the story of Batman.
I noticed you also wore your Batman shirt. I just noticed just now for this special.
That's right. You know, when we talk about Mortal Kombat, I dress up as a ninja. When we talk about Batman and Robin, I wear a Batman t-shirt.
For Top Gear 2, you dressed up like that 80s cartoon about the guy who could turn into a car. Do you remember the name of that? Someone tell me that on TADPOG.com.
New TADPOG contest. Go to the Facebook page. Tell us what cartoon that was.
What was the uniform for Uniracers?
Nothing. Pixar would have sued us.
Yeah.
So we stayed away.
Josh was a frumpy clown, though.
As Josh is most of the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that just Josh in life?
We love you, Josh.
Gameplay wise, like I always feel Batman is stronger than any of the villains that he fights typically. They just trap him in such a way that he has to fight his way out with his superior skills. I feel like Batman was incredibly weak in this game.
Why?
Well, one, his reach was terrible. You had to be right beside someone in order to reach them. Most enemies had a much better reach than Batman.
Batarang dog.
Even though that would just stun most of them, except for a few select enemies, his horizontal jump was awful.
That is true.
He has an amazing vertical. Mario doesn't have shit on Batman in this game when it comes to the vertical.
Maybe Luigi.
Yeah, maybe Luigi.
Batman can almost jump as high as Luigi.
But his horizontal, he can hardly jump over obstacles that are half the size of his foot.
That's true. But I think that's game design because they want you to use the grappling hook.
Which I also had a huge amount of trouble using the grappling hook. You were much better than I was at that.
It's still pretty clunky. For as much emphasis on the grappling hook there is in the game, it's not really super polished. I feel like it's kind of tricky. Like it's trickier than the ninja rope in Worms.
If only it worked like the Ninja Rope and Worms. It was good that we played this together because things you weren't good at, I happened to be good at, and things I wasn't good at, you happened to be good at.
That's true.
So with our powers combined,
We probably would have got
We
through
beat
it a lot
Batman and
faster if Dycus would have stayed with us.
we're not sure what his special Batman talent.
I'm not good at anything, so fortunately, both of the guys compensated for my my lack of skills.
That's not true. You pretty much carried us through Poison Ivy's level.
That's true.
I mean,
That's
you
true.
You really did. Up until the boss, and that boss is very difficult.
The giant plant vagina?
Yeah, the
Yes.
giant plant vagina.
I guess that's how they were really going on that girl power theme for Poison Ivy in that level because all the troops were women,
Henchwomen.
the henchwomen, and then you fight that huge monstrous plant vagina at the end. Not Poison Ivy.
Right.
Just huge plant vagina.
I think it's interesting the links they went to make sure Batman didn't punch any women. Like, your punch is disabled during that level, so you only fight with the Batarang. You don't make contact with Poison Ivy directly. Like, they really cover their bases there.
That's true. I didn't think about that. You definitely can hit. You can gas women. It's fine.
Right.
You can knock them out.
You can roofie them, but just
No violence, please.
yeah.
You're the only thing that has a health bar. No enemies. You, Dave Boy. I can see it right now above your head. It's like a Death Note anime. I can see your health bar. Batman is the only one that has a health bar, so you don't know when you fight an enemy if you're supposed to outlast them, because that happens with several enemies, and then some of them you're supposed to beat down.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because Catwoman's like that. And I love this stage. The whole stage essentially is a boss fight. I love it.
Catwoman stage was the best. Also my favorite. I think it was the best.
You chase her throughout the entire level, and periodically you'll catch up with her, and then you'll fight. Essentially, you scale a building, go across 2 rooftops, find her in a large elevator, and you two fight in the elevator until it reaches the top. Once it reaches the top, she runs out. You chase after her. She jumps off of the building, and you jump off after her. And
in a length of a Felix Baumgarten kind of Red Bull from space fall.
Yes.
Because you fall for several minutes.
yes, you do. And you fight each other the whole way down.
I'm sorry I missed that.
When we're done, we'll show it to you. We'll let you try it. It was honestly my favorite stage. I think it's a lot of fun.
Hands down. Joker level, you don't beat down Joker. You just have to wait until the roller coaster ride is over.
Yeah, it's an interesting boss fight where you and the Joker are on 2 different roller coaster carts, and occasionally you fight each other when they get close.
So Penguins level, you mentioned earlier, takes place in a museum.
Yes.
And I see what they were trying to go for, trying to give kind of an investigative feel to it, where you have to go through it and find the other guards. But outside of the mirrored floor levels, everything looked the same. You're just wandering through corridors. You couldn't really keep track of it that well. It was a boring slog to get to the Penguin.
I think that was the weakest level. However, let me point out that level has the zaniest thing in the whole entire game. And that's when you fight the Penguin's vulture.
Yeah, that big bird. You just have to punch that bird to death.
I'm sorry I missed that too.
When we got done and I was feeling nostalgic, I was like, I'm going to watch some Batman animated series. I look up, where can I find Batman animated series streaming? Oh, WB. So I go there. I try to find episodes that are relevant to the game. I watched the Penguin episode, and this vulture, there's this whole canon, essentially, to this vulture. He plays a big role in this really good episode. And you watched almost all of the show, so you may remember it's an episode where Penguin steals this gigantic Fabergé egg.
Okay, yep.
As Batman comes in to break it up, he gets shot with some gas and gets knocked out. These 2 kids end up finding him and helping him. One kid is Sherman, and he wants to be a detective. So essentially it follows the kids around. Their big enemy throughout the whole thing is this vulture named Scrap. That's the story behind that. Batman fights him, so I guess they figured, hey,
Let's throw in the vulture.
let's put it in the game.
When I was reading about the game, before we got there, I read this level is called Foul Play. It says the vulture and the penguin. So immediately I'm like, this can't be a Spider-Man crossover. Where it's just like you see the vulture played by John Malkovich comes in with the penguin. You got to fight both of them. No, it's an actual vulture that swoops at you. You have to punch.
Man, you just brought up a topic I want to talk about so bad, but I'm going to try not to.
You know, wait for maximum carnage.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Yep. But as we mentioned, Catwoman, best level. I appreciate that. If you start falling behind, she waits for you. She'll wait for you to catch up.
Because the next level is Two-Face, right? He gives you the same courtesy. You're grumbling because that is essentially an overhead racing level.
Oh, awful. Because I beat the Catwoman level. I was in a good place, good rhythm. Hit that car stage. Nope. I bet I died on that 20, 25 times before, nope. Handed it to you, I think 3 times, and you got the Two-Face.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
It's your Top Gear 2 skills, just shining.
No, it's all the Nick Arcade I watched as a kid. You just slow down on the curves, man. That's all there is to it.
That's true.
Slow down on the curves. Here's something I don't like about that level. I just want to point out.
Okay.
I think Konami did pretty much a great job of keeping true to Batman and the animated series. However, you're blowing up cars on that level. You can shoot the cars and blow them up. I think it's especially odd that you can roofie the women in Poison Ivy's level. Meanwhile, you can just willy-nilly blow up cars in the Batmobile.
See, the only thing I can explain it is that they're Google automated cars.
They're drones, yeah.
Like the Foot and Ninja Turtles. They're just robots, so it's okay to blow them up. No one cares about robots.
Except Two-Face isn't. You reach his car at the end, you got to shoot it, and then his car blows up.
Money comes out.
As it bleeds money.
Yeah.
Right. Because he robbed a bank, by the way, in case you didn't read our minds and know that.
Overall, through the game that I've talked to about so far, the music, I think, is pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah, I think the music's great.
You're our in-house musician.
Yeah, Dycus.
That was the first thing that caught my attention about the game was a very, very faithful recreation of the animated series theme, which I know enough to know what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed with what they did with the Super NES, the hardware as far as the sound design goes, because it sounds really robust, knowing what they're having to work with.
I've got a little bit of trivia. You may know this, Dycus, and hell, you may know this too. I know that you know that Danny Elfman did the theme music for the animated series. Mm-hmm. Did you know that theme is actually a variation of the music he did for Tim Burton's Batman?
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't used for Tim Burton's Batman, but it was used for the animated series. So that's where that came from.
We'll put this in our pocket. We'll save this.
That's right.
Did Danny Elfman also do the Rugrats music?
I don't think that was him.
Was that on him?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that Elfman didn't do Rugrats.
I know he did The Simpsons.
I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure.
Then after Two-Face was Scarecrow's level.
Yeah.
And that's where I noticed the lives to difficulty ratio started really tipping. Because you only got one life, 2 lives to finish Scarecrow's level at.
Yeah, I think it was 2.
He comes rolling into town on a blimp,
Right.
gassing people.
And that's based directly on an episode.
To get in, you have to use your grappling hook to swing all the way around the blimp. We died a lot trying to do that.
That's true.
Well, I died a lot, and then you died several times. Because you're much better with the grappling hook than I am.
Yeah, I mean, that's just testament that this game was teamwork. I mean, we got to the game with teamwork.
Yep. Because in getting through, we had just a sliver live to try and beat Scarecrow with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was a lot of getting to that over and over and over again to try and beat him without getting hit more than
Once,
twice.
right, yeah.
After Scarecrow, then you've got the Riddler level, which is interesting.
Probably containing the hardest boss fight in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, because because you went through the level by yourself because you were going through this virtual reality maze,
Right.
answering riddles and
Fighting Minotaurs. I mean, just the basic maze stuff. The maze inspector came through, made sure you had a Minotaur, made sure you had hidden walls. All right, looks good. Check it off.
There you go. We tried the Riddler boss stage a few times. We were like, I want to see someone do this on YouTube. And the videos we found were very frustrated people just screaming and cursing and complaining about how awful terrible this part of the game was.
Just small amounts of coarse language.
Just a little bit.
touch.
Just a little bit.
Just a touch. There's actually, tying it back to Second Breakfast, there's a movie reference in the Riddler stage. The boss fight takes place on a giant chessboard. Mm-hmm. Before you engage, the Riddler taunts you by asking if you'd like to play a nice game of chess. So War Games reference.
Oh, okay. So I was looking, it was like, is that Seventh Seal movie? Are we going with death and chess?
Is that when Ferris Bueller starts the war with, I don't know.
That movie where John Travolta ate rats? No.
You fought the boss for that level and you got through it.
That second half of it, I had to restart and go over several times, getting frustrated, but yeah, eventually beat that.
Tell us about it. What is it? Because you're not fighting the Riddler.
You've got the Riddler in the background, just his head and then 2 floating hands like he's Master Hand from Smash Brothers.
Like he's controlling the chess pieces with one hand, right? What's going on with the other hand?
And he's giving a ghost a hand job with the other one.
Yeah,
so he's maestro chess piecing and then ghost hand job.
Yeah, he's shaking his mondo.
Because Meg was in there. What is he doing with his other hand? Why is he just jerking off the air? I don't know. That's what the Riddler.
Hi diddle diddle.
Enigma. But yeah, after him throwing chess pieces at you and the chess floor is glass, so he's shooting lasers. As soon as you step on a platform, he shoots it out from underneath you. It's extremely... He stops jerking off for a second in time to blast the floor out from underneath you.
And then goes right back to it.
That's what he does. He's charging up his laser.
Exactly.
It's like a super soaker laser.
That's how you do
he's
it.
Pumping it up. He's just waiting. Dave and I are just looking at each other, just making that motion with our hands.
I'm so glad.
You know what I'm talking
so
about.
glad
All
this
of us
is
now.
an audio media.
We're all just double fisting it. Second Breakfast, clean podcast. We're talking about the Riddler just jerking off ghosts.
Yeah, there's all these.
Fine.
We've got all these ghosts in this room.
We're just skiing our little hands off it over here. Edit that out.
Nope.
Edit that out. Skiing our little hands off. It was Dycus.
That is a stinger.
After then I beat the Riddler's level, then the last level of the Gauntlet.
The Gauntlet.
That was 100% you.
Second Breakfast does a gauntlet. Man, you guys better be plugging us like we're plugging you. Let me tell you.
Although they're going to hear the show and be like,
Why did we do this? But
we'll see.
They do a very different gauntlet that doesn't involve the Riddler and ghost penises.
Which I think is foolish not to do, but to each their own.
Sometimes they'll get challenges in from their listeners, and they'll do the challenges, which maybe I shouldn't have said that because we might start getting challenges, and I'm not sure that I want to play all the challenges that we get.
Micah Purdue is throwing out XBLA challenges to us and everyone else has an Xbox weekly.
Yeah, I'm not going to partake in that challenge.
He's pretty solid Xbox gamer score machine. So
I think he's like up to 49,000, something like that.
Something like that.
Gamer score. Dycus, how much you got? Put you in the hot seat. What's your gamer score?
I don't have an Xbox.
So zero.
Zero.
Big fat zero.
I've had an Xbox for years, and mine is not much higher than that.
Yeah, I think I've got like maybe 12,000. Just 12.
I think I've got 12.
I think I've got a dozen.
I got one achievement on Scott Pilgrim, then I just walked out.
If I went to the store and bought some eggs, I can eat one egg per point I've got.
The Gauntlet was cheap because it was just, oh, Batman, everybody you just captured and more all got out of Arkham Asylum. Go get them. So then you just fight all the bosses,
Joker
one after
busted
the other.
them out.
Joker bust, okay.
Mm-hmm. And assembled them all in one warehouse. And this bothers me because you fight Catwoman again. You fight Penguin, take care of him. You fight, gosh, I can't remember who's after Penguin, but you fight someone else. Another one of the bosses. Scarecrow is the second one. Everything's going good. The third boss is Catwoman. And what does she say? I don't want to fight you, but you're standing in my way. Come on. Come on. You just happen to be hanging out with the Joker and all these others. You can't just leave?
Her alignment is true neutral, in my opinion. And she's hanging out with all the evil people. She shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Man-Bat might also be true neutral as he's mostly animal. We'll talk about the alignments of Batman villains later.
Special episode.
There are two bosses that aren't normally... that did not have stages that made appearances. One being my favorite Batman villain of all time.
Clayface.
Clayface.
Yeah, I knew it.
Dycus looks shocked. Clayface. Truly? Yeah, I love Clayface.
Also, I would say probably the most powerful of Batman villains is Clayface.
Mm-hmm. Unless you count Darkseid, since in other iterations of Batman, he has to punch Darkseid to death.
I consider Darkseid a Justice League villain.
Yeah.
I mean, Clayface is very specifically a Batman villain.
Yeah.
Clayface can do so many things that other villains can't, and pretty much cannot die.
Yeah. Is it Darkseid or Darkseid? How did I say it? Did I say it correctly? I
was a Marvel kid growing up, and I always called him Darkseid. While I was living in Lexington, made a friend there who was 100% a DC kid, and he calls him Darkseid.
Okay.
So now I call him Darkseid.
Okay. That makes you feel better then. Please continue.
Well, what was I talking about?
Clayface being the most powerful, doesn't die villain in Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I can see why you like him so much. He's versatile. I mean, he's like Terminator in T2. His hands turn into axes and all kinds of stuff.
Because I remember watching the animated series and being legitimately scared whenever I would see Clayface. Just like his origin, whenever they're holding him down and pouring the makeup onto him and just the choking sounds and his face running. It's powerful imagery for you to get when I was the age that I watched Batman.
Oh, yeah. And that whole series was very adult.
I mean, I don't want to say I shouldn't have been watching that as a kid, but it was darker than most cartoons that came on in that time slot.
I think that's great. I think it's one of the reasons that still holds up. When I was watching these episodes the other night, they held up really well, like you were saying earlier. And at no point did I feel dumb for watching a quote-unquote children's show. You know, when Nikki and I were watching Tiny Toons, there were a few times where I was like, man, I don't know about this. Like, if anyone's watching my internet traffic or my history, I might be put on some kind of list. Hold on. Before we move on, who's your favorite Batman villain? Dycus?
I don't feel comfortable answering this question.
Oh, too many choices?
I feel like there are too many wrong answers here. So I'm
wrong answer? There's no wrong answers. Not on TADPOG.
I don't know Batman well enough to speculate.
All right, so Dycus is gone with the vagina plant monster.
Vagina plant monster.
Okay.
What would you say is your favorite incarnation of Batman?
Batman Begins. Not even the other Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Batman Begins is probably my favorite movie, period.
Really?
Which I haven't seen it in a while, so it may not hold up to scrutiny now.
It does. I've seen it recently. It certainly does.
For a long while after I saw that, I decided that my mission in life was to become Batman. And Tyler witnessed some of the trials I went through to achieve that goal.
Having his parents murdered. I mean, he was hardcore.
He really accepted that role.
Who did you cosplay as when we went to go see?
When we went to go see The Dark Knight, I cosplayed as Zebra Batman, a very obscure incarnation of The Dark Knight that attracted a lot of attention, I guess.
Question mark.
The most flattering way I can think to put it. So yeah, Zebra Batman also holds a very dear place in my heart.
Can you give us some background on Zebra Batman?
No, I can't.
Just saw one picture one time.
A mutual friend of ours vehemently demanded that I go as Zebra Batman. Having no better idea for a cosplay at the time, I thought, why not? We'll see what kind of reaction this garners. I know that he was a product of Zebra Man, who is like an obscure Bat villain from the 50s or 60s. I couldn't say 100%.
So roasting was Zebra Man is your favorite Batman villain. Favorite incarnation of Batman, Zebra
Yep,
Batman.
there you
Favorite
go.
villain, Zebra.
Sorry, Vagina Plant.
My
Zebra
entire
Man.
impression of Zebra Batman is based on like a few isolated images that I've seen. So Batman, historians clue me in on that one.
While we're talking about villains, can I express my biggest complaint about this game?
Yes.
My biggest complaint about this game is that it does not include Mr. Freeze,
Freeze's episode 1.
Daytime Emmy.
So to have that not be in a level is questionable.
I was really, really disappointed that there was no Mr. Freeze level.
See, I feel like every 16-bit video game needs an ice level. Surely he could have filled that.
That's a very good point. That episode is good, and that's probably, I think, the best incarnation of that character. Because before that, Mr. Freeze, of course, was in the 60s Adam West show as well. They took kind of like this hokey character and gave him this like really like tormented background. Like I think Mr. Freeze is in the animated series is one of those characters that they really humanize because he's doing all of this because his wife died.
Or is dying.
Right.
So then he wrote Nora.
You found out later that Nora, isn't dead. Spoilers. Shit. Damn it.
But in the 60s, he's basically just like a lost Inuit who comes to try and plague Batman. And then once they reboot everything where he's the Dark Knight and not Adam West Batman.
Right. Can't be Batman.
You think Batman the Animated Series, Mr. Freeze is the best incarnation of that character?
I do. Yeah, way better
You,
than
my
Arnold
friend,
Schwarzenegger.
have
I
never
know where you're
seen
going.
Batman and
I
Robin.
know where you're going.
Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and George Clooney.
Phil's gonna love. Oh, Bill and Andy will love.
Yeah, why don't you
Arnold
guys
Schwarzenegger.
Skype Dycus in for that episode?
Chill.
I've seen a lot of opinions that people think Arkham City's best level and fight is against Freeze.
Yeah. And
'Cause you have to use your entire moveset to try and constantly outsmart him and
Yep.
beat him.
And that's also not really in the animated series canon, but that game was written by Paul Dini, who wrote that episode, Heart of Ice, I believe it is. So I've never seen anyone handle Mr. Freeze better than Paul Dini.
This is true. This is factual.
Who else is in the gauntlet? Did you talk about Man-Bat?
Man-Bat was the second of the two, which you kind of marked out whenever you see Man-Bat come up.
I honestly don't even know why they put Man-Bat in the game because
Not had Mr. Freeze, but we're going Man-Bat.
we're going Man-Bat. He's an incredibly easy boss.
He was kind of the relief in the gauntlet.
Yeah. He swoops in from the center. You step to the side, punch him. He swoops in from the side. You punch him. You just do that over and over again.
Final boss being Joker on a jetpack.
Right.
And you punch him till his jetpack blows up, and you punch him 37 more times.
Right. In 1994, the Joker could take a lot of punishment.
Yes. Let's also address this game is called The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Right.
But Robin is 2 scenes. He has the other radio during the
Right.
Penguin level telling you
Where to go.
what room you're in, and then he drives the bat plane to drop you off on the blimp. Mm-hmm. That's all you get from Robin.
There's not a 2-player mode in this game that allows you.
No, there's not.
That's what you'd think. Final Fight had 2 players. You'd think Batman and Robin, you'd play as Batman and Robin.
I'm glad it didn't.
Do you think there were any gamers in 1994 who felt really like duped or let down that Robin was not featured?
We need our Robin.
in a more
Probably.
prominent role?
Where is Dick Grayson? I didn't pay $60 for a game that doesn't have Dick Grayson.
I don't think this game would work well at all with 2 players. Final Fight obviously is built for that, but this is a platformer. I only imagine that
You have
going.
to be a very different game to include both of them. Or at least if you could play as Robin alternatively. Like if you beat it, unlock play as Robin.
That's a good idea. I like that.
But no such like Alfred just told you could have tried harder.
Do you know why the game is
Son of a
called?
bitch. Really?
Yeah, because we beat it, which was pretty difficult on its normal setting, and Alfred's just like, you could have pushed yourself harder, Master Wayne.
Right. And then we looked up the ending for the hard mode because we weren't going to sit there and put the hours in to finish it on hard.
Nope.
In order to record the show. And he pretty much says, you have this conversation where it's like, Alfred's like, I sure am glad everyone's locked back up in Arkham Asylum. And Bruce is like, yep, they'll probably get out again sometime.
Credits roll.
That's it. I was going to say earlier, you know why they call the game The Adventures of Batman and Robin?
Okay. No, why do they call the game The Adventures of Batman and Robin?
Because that is what Batman the Animated Series became. Really, the only first season is unnamed. That's why it was called Batman the Animated Series. If you think back to the opening title, never once does it say what the show is.
It's true. Just him standing in the lightning in the background.
And if there was ever a continuation, in the second part, they would say previously on Batman. And then season 2 started running on weekends. And I remember when that happened because that's pretty much when I stopped watching the show as a kid, because I used to come home and watch it on weekdays, but I had stuff going on the weekends and didn't watch a whole lot of TV. It's when they made the transition to weekends, they started calling it The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Mm-hmm. It was still the same show. It had more Robin in it, but it was still the same show. They just retitled it, or I guess titled it for the first time.
Was that like a ploy to get more kids to watch it because like they could relate more to Robin than Batman, or
That I don't know.
That's plausible. Or they like, Animaniacs. We gotta bring in some Animaniacs. Should have mentioned this earlier when you're talking about Freeze. Batman Beyond. I don't know if either of you watched Batman Beyond.
Yeah, a little bit.
I really liked Batman Beyond. I feel like it didn't get enough credit, and the episode with Mr. Freeze in it is probably the best episode, because where he wakes up after being frozen for so long. Of course, Bruce Wayne is like 80, I believe, and
He's training the next Batman, right?
right.
Okay.
Only the next Batman is enhanced by like a suit because he doesn't
Right.
have Bruce's ability. But Freeze wakes up, the cure that he set into his body is taken, and he's cured of his afflictions, and he becomes a good guy for a short time and starts trying to help out the new Batman until it's only temporary and he ends up dying
Right.
at the end. And it's a very good episode.
I think that's an early episode of that series, isn't it?
It's pretty early on.
Yeah. I need to see if I can find that online.
That I would like to watch all that again, because that episode and then the Villain Inc. I really enjoyed from Batman Beyond. But I think we can all agree that if we ever have to go to Gotham City, we should either be a contractor or sell insurance.
Yeah. If you own an insurance agency, you're making bank because there's a lot of collateral damage in Gotham City.
And if you don't ask questions, there are a lot of building teddy bears and giant dice and bird sculptures, huge winding warehouses you can build. So being contractor also pretty good.
Yeah.
a lot of opportunities for creativity there.
But you have anything special to add?
I think a lot of the stuff I've got to say ties into how I feel about the game in general. Before I ask you about beards and glasses, I want to give a good case for this game.
Okay.
I thought it was a really good game. I would have loved to have owned it as a child. And a lot of that stems from loving Batman so much. I love the character. I love the movies. Just about every Batman movie. Yeah, I can even appreciate, Dycus' favorite, Batman and Robin, to a certain extent.
Give it a watch, guys. You haven't seen it since you were a kid.
You love the creativity of Bane just being mentally handicapped and very strong.
I am really looking forward to the review that Phil and Andy do. On the
It's
show.
gonna be great.
I think it's gonna be
great.
really funny. Beyond that, I think this is a great game that really captures the feel through look and sound of Batman the Animated Series / The Adventures of Batman and Robin. I feel like if you were a child who grew up with that show and you loved it, then you really do owe it to yourself to play this game. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, you owe it to yourself to play this game because it will reawaken those memories about the show. At least I know it did for me 100%. And we talked about some of the things that kind of held it back and make it seem like an old game, and that being like the pattern bosses and that kind of thing. But it also had this quality about it that I really like in older games before they did tutorials or any of that, where things you can tell, looking back from a game design standpoint, they set up these scenarios to teach you the mechanics of the game. In the first stage, in Joker's stage, you run across these Joker robots. And what they do, they're made of metal, so they're immune to the Batarang. So you have to get close to them to fight them. But the problem is they shoot a pretty steady stream of bullets at chest level. So that means you have to duck. Well, you have to attack it while ducking. And that's how I learned that, when you duck and attack, you kick forward. And when you duck and press the jump button, you roll. I like that about old games. And I think this had it in spades. Mm-hmm. Another example of that is the flashlight in the museum. It's one of Batman's tools. If you don't use the flashlight, what happens is you're in this dark museum and you start exploding landmines that you can't see because you don't have the flashlight. And I know the first thing that happened to me, I hit an explosive. I was like, oh, what was that? And I was like, well, maybe I flipped to the flashlight, and then you see all those mines.
Right. Like I felt like the gas mask was probably supposed to help you in Scarecrow's level.
We never used it.
I didn't find that. Like I remember switching to it. Maybe it worked where you died in 3 seconds instead of 2 seconds.
You still took, significant damage. I don't know. I really think that that's a good argument for the game. I can see where you're coming from about maybe there not being replay value, so it might be a good rental. I agree. I think it'd be a great rental. But if you loved the cartoon or Batman in general, I think you're hard-pressed to find a better Batman game beyond Arkham City and Arkham Asylum.
I have a question kind of relating to that. Do you think this is one of the top 100 Super NES games, or do you think that maybe it was included because of all the good, positive nostalgia people have for Batman the Animated Series, and that kind of helped justify including it on the list?
That's a good point.
It is a good point. But I think IGN's list takes a lot of that into fact. I think they roll that into their ranking, because also I think Tiny Toons wouldn't be on that list if there wasn't nostalgia. In my personal opinion, this Batman game would be on the list, but Tiny Toons probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I can understand that, because I think it's solid enough that if it was just a reskinned version of something else that had Batman elements, I feel like it would still be a fun game.
I'm glad you brought that up, because another thing I think that's great about this game is it doesn't feel like it was just some game that was reskinned as a Batman game. I mean, it feels like it was designed from the bottom up to parallel the series. What do you think? Do you think it would be on the list, Dycus?
It's hard to say, because I don't think I saw enough of the game to judge it as a whole. That was just something I was curious about. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Know that a lot of what you guys have talked about was, it really did a good job of capturing the animated series, and we all love the animated series. Well, is that like the biggest thing it has going for it?
I'd say yes. I really think it is, but I think that goes beyond nostalgia. I think that even when the animated series was current, I think the fact that this game is so true to it, that's probably its biggest draw.
In a rarity, Dave, I agree with your assessment.
Whoa.
Yeah. I have to step back and try to be as objective as I can, that when it comes to a lot of Super Nintendo games, I am very heavily colored because of my passion for JRPGs.
You're JRPG or GTFO?
Yep, that's when TADPOG starts doing shirts.
Trademark.
Yeah.
TADPOG 2013. I actually do plan on coming up with a design for that. I've never shared this on the show because I'm bashful.
I'm surprised.
But I'm a graphic designer, and that's going to be a shirt. Now, regardless of whether or not anyone wants one,
I want one.
Well, okay, I was going to say at least 2 are going to be made, but at least 3 are going to be made.
Yeah.
If you want a JRPG or GTFO shirt, just let us know on Facebook, and we'll figure out how many we can get printed.
Outside of like a game where I'm going to be spending at least 20 or 30 hours, I have a hard time comprehending buying something for Super Nintendo that doesn't have that in it. Because my library was Mega Man X games and JRPGs.
Is that because...
And Castlevanias. That was it.
I've got a question, because I know the answer for me. But is that because you didn't have any money as a kid? Like you don't have your own money to spend to buy whatever games you want?
So when I bought one, I wanted to get a lot of lifetime out of it.
Like 120 hours out of a game?
Yeah.
Because that's how I was. That turned me on to JRPGs, is that you can essentially, you don't have a whole lot of games, no big deal. You can just grind in the Veldt for 80 hours trying to get every single monster for Gao.
Gao, or as I pronounce it for some reason, Guau, which I have my friend Ashley Shake to, because normally he introduced me to a lot of JRPGs and things like that, and he pronounces everything incorrectly. He's got a pretty solid track record of pronouncing things in ways that he think is, it's a cool way to pronounce things as a way to accurately pronounce things.
He's just making it a little better. He's just making it a little better.
Because like, Tyler, have you listened to the new Weezer album? They put it out on vinyl. They put it out on what? You mean vinyl? Vinyl sounds way cooler, man. All right.
No argument here.
Your love for games that you can spend a lot of time on.
Just heavy story, the role-playing element, length, so I can replay it, name my characters after my friends, name the romantic interest after whatever girl I have a crush on at the moment.
Right.
That's I guess that's where my roots lay. So I have to try my damnedest to back off from that and look at a game in another way. I can still appreciate this game partially for what it is. I feel like it's a fun game. Batman or not, it's a solid game. I would have been happy renting it for a weekend, I'm sure.
I'm kind of surprised that we kind of agree.
I think if I had rented this as a kid, I would have given up after the second level.
That's what you did as an adult.
Some things never change.
Okay, old chum, what do you think? How many beards would you give this game?
Beards, I'm going to give this 4, which some might say is the best number. 4 black handlebar plus goatees.
Not too bad.
So yeah, not too bad. 4 is a good number. Black's good color. Handlebars and goatees pretty solid.
How many glasses would you give it?
1 pair of wooden bifocals.
Okay. I've actually seen those online. So
There you go. Pretty dependable, solid, versatile.
no, not a penguin monocle? No.
Penguin monocle, I feel like it's a little more upper class. It's a little more upper crust.
All right. Fair enough. Not suitable for a peasant's game such as The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Correct.
Now, would you give the movie Batman and Robin a penguin monocle?
I would give a hypodermic needle full of air that you can look through and know that it's clear. And a half a luchador's mask covering up the bottom half of your face.
Okay, fair enough. And you start hitting your head.
Then we'll compare that to whatever Phil and Andy have to say about the movie.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what you guys have to say about it. Dycus, anything you'd like to add?
Or plug.
Tell us about your music.
You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/dirtiestdmusic, soundcloud.com/David-Dycus, DYCUS, and on vinyl. Someday.
You had vinyl pressed?
I'm working on it.
I'll make sure to put links to all that in the show note. We're trying to convince Dycus to maybe one day do a theme for the show.
I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now, but as soon as my schedule clears up a little bit, tune in and you will hear my jam.
And on a musical note, we've kind of got some excitement going on.
Yeah, it's true, because we heard a very good remix of the DuckTales Moon theme recently, and we hope to be able to bring you some more of that soon.
Yeah, we're working on something with some talented people. So hopefully something pretty exciting is going to be happening soon. So just stay tuned until then. What's the deal? We got people to thank this week or what?
We do. We have a pretty extensive shout-outs list.
Excellent.
All right, starting off, shout out to an old friend and former roommate of mine, Kevin Link, for sharing us on Facebook.
Thank you, Link.
Another old friend and former roommate, Ramon Federico Castillo III, for sharing us on Facebook.
Thank you, sir.
A mysterious man named Mustachioed Cleric, no idea who that could be, gave us a 5-star review on iTunes, which we appreciate.
Very much so. That helps people who aren't our friends know that the show's around. So if you like the show, we'd appreciate it.
Joe from New York for giving us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Thank you very much.
Someone who previously wasn't a friend giving us a 5-star review. So much appreciated.
Yep, we're moving up.
Leva Bates mentioning us on Twitter.
Yes, thank you, Leva.
Michael Prosserman for also mentioning us on Twitter.
Yep, thank you.
Number 1 super fan, Dennis Robinson, mentioning us on Facebook.
And
giving us some
excellent
feedback.
Yeah, excellent feedback.
See, Jacob York giving us feedback, some ideas for some things, projects for the future that I think we'll probably jump on. David Dycus for giving us feedback on the
thank you,
show
Dycus.
and coming on.
Yes,
I'm
and
honored.
definitely for being on the show. We love having you here.
Jess Dockery. I said that spelled correctly.
Yeah, I was about to
Jess
say,
Dockery.
whose last name I'll be sure to spell correctly in the show notes.
And the Silk Street Post for always mentioning us and backing me for my food column.
How's it going, by the way? Not to interrupt the shout-outs. I've been reading. I've enjoyed.
Gastromancers Guild's been getting a lot of likes and comments. I've been getting some emails. It's been good.
Good. If we play a game that has food in it, we should do some kind of crossover
we can do
between your
Cookie
column
Mama.
and yeah, let's do Cooking Mama. Special episode, folks.
You know what you do for a living? Let's play this as a video game now. Yay! Meg Holland for giving us a Facebook share.
Thank you, Meg.
And Nikki Irby Moore for editing our show, giving us good feedback and Facebook shares.
Thank you, sweetheart.
So that's both our wives. Well, Meg and Nikki. Not like Nikki is both our wives.
We've got an interesting arrangement. Any listeners out there who want in on our arrangement, just let us know.
We're big on our polyamory.
I'm glad you said that because I've been meaning not.
I'm glad you finally brought up our large relationship.
I've got a platform
I'll see
here.
myself out at this point.
No, I'm glad you said "are" because I've been meaning for the longest time to mention two subreddits that I want to thank: our podcasting and our podcasts, because I plug the show on there week after week, and no one gets mad at me.
Unlike our gaming, which
I'm afraid
threw
to
us
post in.
immediately to under the bus.
Yeah. I didn't know where to start on how to start a podcast or anything like that. Those two subreddits were my go-tos. Really, really helped us form this show. So I feel like it's a long overdue shout out to those two subreddits.
I should also give a shout out to a friend, Tim Bear, who called me the other day. Of course, he's one of those early riser people, so he called me at like 6 and left me a voicemail about how much he enjoyed the show and
cool.
that he wanted to get into podcasting. So
Awesome.
shout out to him for appreciating us and then showing interest in what we've been doing.
Hell
So,
yeah. Thank you.
Let me tell one more story about David Dycus.
Okay.
Like I mentioned
All right,
earlier,
good.
David Dycus is a ripped fitness individual. He got me kind of interested in fitness too, from being a fat guy. And then David Dycus, who's very into fitness, he went as Bane to Dark Knight Rises. He did a very convincing Bane.
Oh, you flatter me.
I shaved his head for the role.
It's
And
true. With a straight razor.
I shaved thanks to our Wicked Edge, and you, Dave, for turning me on to our Wicked Edge.
a great
Yeah, I
segue.
shaved with just my neck beard with a straight razor. So that's all I had to shave Dycus's head. It went pretty well until I happened to nick a mole that was on the top. I think you bled for like 3 days up until the start of the movie.
no.
Yes. Which, it looked badass.
My kitchen floor was hair, water, shaving cream, and blood.
That's, what you expect when you go into a kitchen.
It's my kitchen, yeah.
Blood and a sack with at least like 3 pounds of human hair.
That's a really
You had an
weird,
afro before.
a really weird edition of Cooking Mama. Mama,
Does it, Mama?
Mama needs you to clean up all this hair and blood off the floor, sweetie. Are there photographs of you
Yes.
as Bane?
There are pictures of me as Bane on Facebook, and there's also, I did a very short photo series documenting like the transformation of my head throughout the shaving process.
I'm gonna have to check these out.
We'll migrate some of those pictures over from David Dycus to the Bane pictures of David Dycus.
I will allow this.
Yeah, check the show notes if you want to see this buff individual that Tyler keeps mentioning.
Yep. Show notes and link to some music too.
Yep.
And link to this very good DuckTales
Woo!
remix. Thank you, David Dycus, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was everything I imagined it would be and more.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave, for this wonderful polyamorous relationship that we're suddenly been forced into.
You don't have to thank me. Just thank all those ladies.
That's all I got.
Don't worry, though. We'll be back with all our lovely ladies next week. If you can't wait for more TADPOG in the meantime, feel free to leave us feedback on tadpog.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/tadpog. Our intro song is Moves by Sycamore Drive. A link to that track can be found in the show notes.
Oh, and next week to tune in because we'll be doing Super Turrican 2.
Oh, yes.
which I've never heard of, so it'll be nice to go into something completely new. Peace.
That's what we got.
Dycus out.
But speaking earlier, Dycus, we were talking about plugging you. You were like, well, I'll just tell them to just Google David Dycus and you'll listen to my music. It's like, you have to hope that there's not like a convicted rapist David Dycus out there on some news stream somewhere. Just Google David Dycus. Oh, they had a rapist on the show.
I've not Googled myself recently, so it probably wouldn't for me to do a background check on myself.
I was concerned where you were going when you started talking about plugging David Dycus.
I was also, I didn't say anything, but I was also kind of worried about the direction the conversation was going in there.
I didn't know if you were going to tie it back to the Riddler and the ghost penises or what.
You heard it first here, folks. Ghost Bingo.
I would have liked to have seen you make somehow tie all of it together and wrap up the show.
The Mondo CEO endorses ghost penises, hand jobs, convicted rapists, and no, that's it.
That's it. And horsey sauce.
And horsey sauce.
Horsey sauce makes an excellent lubricant.